to Stella's Meza, and on today's episode you're probably wondering where our taste travels will take us. Today we go to the land of pharaohs and pyramids. Today we're making a dish from Egypt, and it is a dessert dish. It is called Ali. Now Ali literally translates to Ali's mother in Arabic, but in the culinary world it is a dessert that's made out of puff pastry or croissants and some nuts. And to start this trip I'll show you exactly what we need. Now this is a puff pastry I'm talking about. These they sell in the grocery store in the refrigerated aisle where they have the whipped cream and like frozen fruits. So that's where you can get this. If you cannot get access to this, you can use 4 to 6 large croissants. Now the reason why we use this or the croissants is because they have a lot of butter in them, and therefore it's flaky. So you want the whatever you're using to be flaky. Okay, so if you look over here, I have a whole pack. What I did is I unthawed this. I left it on the counter I removed the package out of the box, left it on the counter for 30 minutes. Actually, it's safer to do it for 20 minutes. So you see how jagged mine look is because I left it on there too long, and so it's now very pliable and soft and hard to work with. So I'd say 20 minutes. That way it's still kind of solid and easier to cut. So I just use my pizza cutter and cut them into these little strips. And over here I have my oven preheating at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to put them in there for around 12 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes, just until they're nice and golden brown. And then while that's cooking, over here I have some walnuts that I chopped. And for all the measurements and the ingredient list, just go to my blog. It's www.stellasmeza.blogspot.com. You'll find everything on there. So we have walnuts here. We have almonds, slivered almonds. We have some golden raisins. We have some pistachios. And I have some pine nuts. Now everything, all the nuts I went ahead and chopped except for the slivered almonds and the pine nuts. Okay, I chopped them finely, if you can see in there. Take a look at that. Okay, and then I also have a third cup of desiccated coconut, or you can use coconut flakes if you cannot find desiccated coconut. Now over here is 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, and let me show you what the package looks like. That's what heavy whipping cream looks like. So it's like thick and it whips up nice. It's a high fat content in there. When you whisk it, it whips up nice, and we're gonna later on top our bread pudding with that and throw it in the oven. But I have there 2 cups of that and 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar or confectioner's sugar. All right. Over here on the stove, on low medium heat, I have a cup of sweetened condensed milk, not evaporated milk, but this sweetened condensed milk. And then I'm going to use some vanilla on there, vanilla extract, pure vanilla extract, and a couple drops of orange blossom water. And then I'll taste to see if the sugar's enough, and then I'll add a little bit of sugar. If not, I won't, because sweetened condensed milk already has some sugar in it. So I don't want it too sweet, cloyingly sweet. So we are going to handle that once it's cooked. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw these in the oven for 12 to 15 minutes, let them brown and become, when I get them out the oven, they'll be nice and flaky because that butter that's inside. This is actually, you can make this at home, and one of these days I'll show you a video of how to make this. If you do not have access to packaged puff pastry, I will do a video to show you how to make puff pastry at home. You can do it. So when we get this out the oven, it will be nice and flaky because the butter in there, it releases steam and makes it nice and flaky. So I'm going to throw this in the oven, and then we're going to come back, and I can actually do that now. Let me throw this in the oven real quick. This is the middle rack. You know what? I'll do one in the bottom. While that's in there mixing, I'm just gonna mix everything in here together. The nuts, the raisins, and the coconut. I'm gonna mix that up together in one bowl. Put the nuts. So what we're gonna do is, once the puff pastry comes out the oven, we are going to break it up into little pieces, and I have prepared ramekins over here. I actually had one here. See that? I just went ahead and sprayed the inside with a cooking spray that has flour in it. That way the bread pudding does not stick in the ramekins when we're done. And then we're going to break the little pieces of the cooked puff pastry in there. halfway, and then put the filling, which is what I'm mixing right here, put it inside, and then another layer of the puff pastry over top, and then I'm going to put this, I'm going to whip this up into nice soft peaks, and then I'm going to cover the top of the ramekins with them, just kind of flatten it around, put it in the oven another 15 minutes, and then put it in the broiler, turn the broiler on for like a minute or two to make it nice and brown, okay? And then you're going to enjoy it. All right, so let's mix everything up. It's a nut party, and everybody's invited. So I'm going to save some of these pine nuts just to sprinkle over top. Actually, I'm going to just sprinkle a combination. Now, I tasted this at a friend's house. Khadija, if you're watching, thank you for the recipe. And I knew I had to try this at home. It was so good. I was hooked. So she gave me the recipe, and here I'm making it for you or sharing it with you. You might want to use a bigger bowl so you don't have to worry about it spilling over. But you get the gist of it. We're going to wait for this puff pastry to be nice and brown, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to assemble a dish. And I'll also mix this up at that time. I'm going to put it in the fridge. You want your whipping cream nice and cold, and the bowl you're going to be using nice and cold. Also the tools you're going to be using. If you're using a hand, I'm going to be using a hand mixer. I want the whisk to be cold. So I'm going to put everything in the fridge so it firms up very well when I am whipping it, okay? So we'll be back, and I'll come back with this finish, and then we'll assemble the dish. I'll see you in a little bit. Welcome back. Right before the break, we were putting the puff pastry in the oven at 400 degrees, and I baked it for around 12 to 15 minutes, and I look to make sure that it's nice and golden brown. Now, in my blog, you'll see exactly what they look like, or what they should look like when they come out the oven. So not burnt, but a nice golden brown. Now, what I did in the interest of time, I went ahead and shredded them into little bits, which I put in the prepared ramekins. Remember, these ramekins were sprayed in the inside with baking spray, which is just like butter or butter and flour mix. That way, the whatever you're baking in them does not stick in the pan. And also, before the break, you saw me mix the nuts and the fruit combo that's going to go into the umali. And I forgot to mention, you need a teaspoon of this. But again, for the full ingredient list and the recipes, you'll look and see in my blog. It's www.stellasmeza.blogspot.com. And also, I had in the refrigerator 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. And I added here some powdered sugar or confectioner sugar, and I whipped it up using a whisk. And you want soft peaks, and this is what you want it to look like. Like it kind of hangs, but doesn't fall off when you shake that whisk. Now, just to let you know, don't do it for too long, because if you keep going, I know one day I got excited and I kept whipping, and it turned into butter. Because I was like, ooh, that's beautiful, and I just kept going. So don't make that mistake. Just whip it, and once you see it looks like this or this consistency, just stop, okay? So I'll move you over here to show you the cream or the milk combination that's going to go into ali. Now, I have over here sweetened condensed milk and some regular milk. And then I did not add, actually added a tablespoon of sugar because the sweetened condensed milk is already sweet. So what I like to do is at the end of, once it's already boiled, I brought it to a quick boil, and then at this point is when I add the vanilla extract, and I go ahead and add like a teaspoon of it, and I add it towards the end, that way it does not evaporate. See that? And also a quick mention, in that whipping cream I added a teaspoon of vanilla just to give it flavor. A lot of times if you just whip cream with what do you call it, just sugar, it doesn't really taste like much. So I went ahead and added a little bit of that vanilla in there, and I'm just going to add a little bit of this, because if you go too heavy-handed with either this or cardamom or rose water, whatever it is you're cooking is going to end up tasting or smelling like soap. You don't want a dessert that tastes or smells like soap. So just a couple drops, and I'm scared of putting directly in here because I'm heavy-handed and it might go in too much. So just a couple drops. Look, 1, 2, around 3 drops, just to give it that nice North African essence or flavor. And then I'll just go ahead and whisk this up together so you see it's nice and hot. Now over here my oven is preheating at 350 degrees. What we're going to do once we finish assembling the ali, we're going to put it into the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. And then we're going to put it on going to turn the broiler on just so it can brown the top of the umali for around a minute. But when you turn the broiler on, you cannot go anywhere. You cannot take a bathroom break. You stand right there, or whatever it is you're cooking will burn. You don't want umali flambe. You want something that's nice and brown and caramelized. So move back with me over here to my workstation and we'll begin assembling the umali. Guys, I'm celebrating. I'm sorry. House smells so good. I can't help myself. So we've filled half the ramekins with the shredded puff pastry, and you can see what it looks like. I cut them to like a little bit size. See that golden brown color? That's what you're looking for. A darkest that color. But I shred them. I just broke them apart and put them in there because I only have 4 ramekins. This recipe probably good for 6 people. You can use it to fill 6 ramekins. I'm going to just use my spoon. Much easier. So you see I put a layer of that in there. Press down. And then I'm going to take some more of these flakes and just kind of put them over top. And then we're going to pour that milk combo over this and push it down some more. And then I reserved on this side a little bit of just the nuts, no raisins in there. Okay, this has nuts, raisins, and cinnamon. This has nuts and cinnamon, no raisin there. And then I'm going to put this whipping cream over top and kind of smooth it down and then sprinkle some of that over there. And I'm going to put it in the oven. Now, just a side note, these nuts that I'm using, I dry toasted them. What you can do, you can use a large frying pan, like something that you use to make an omelet. Put your nuts in there before you chop them, just to put them on medium heat on top of the stove, and then just stir them around just on medium heat, just to release some of those flavors and to make them a nice color. And once you start smelling the nuts cooking, turn the heat off. Or you can do the same in the oven. Put them on a baking sheet, spread them on an even layer, put them in the oven. I do mine at 250 degrees for 8 minutes till I start smelling the nuts, and then I stop. And then another thing, when I put my puff pastry in the oven, you notice that I did not butter my baking sheets, or I did not use parchment paper. That's because puff pastry has enough butter to where you don't need to add any more and it'll not stick. As you can see, my baking sheets are nice and clean. Okay, so I'm going to assemble this one just so you see what it is. So we have the broken up puff pastry at the bottom. We have the nuts and fruit combo in the middle. And then I put another layer of broken up puff pastry. And now I'm going to just scoop. Looks like a cloud, people. Scoop that. You know what? Hold up. It's not going to kill the taste of anything. I'm going to stop that one. What I'm going to do, I forget too. I'm human. That makes me normal, right? So I'm going to pour that in there. Remember, you want it still hot, nice and hot. Alright, now I use this thing with a sprout because it's easier to pour as opposed to pouring right off the pan. Now this might melt that pudding, but that whipping cream. Okay, I'm just kind of tilting the ramekin just so the flavors get in there. And I'm going to stop on this one. Let's start over. One that I don't mess up. It's not really messed up. It's just, it's not the way I want it to look. Okay, so we have the broken up pieces of puff pastry. I'm going to spoon this in there. On about 3 spoonfuls, 3 to 4 spoonfuls. Okay, and then we're going to put this up over it. If you find the pieces too big, just use your hand to break it up. Now this is messy. There's no way around it. It's like eating a croissant trying to eat a croissant neatly with lipstick on. You're going to get flakes on there. So there's no way to avoid it. Your counter or whatever you're working on, your hands are going to get messy. But it's all good. Now it looks a lot in the ramekin. But remember, as the puff pastry absorbs this liquid, it is going to kind of shrink down in the ramekin, and I'm going to use my spoon to assist it shrink further. Okay. I'll just use my fork here to kind of push it down. And if it looks dry still to you, add. You just have to gauge it with your eyes. There's no set method. Actually, in Africa, you know what? We don't use measuring spoons and measuring cups. It's just, you just eyeball everything. So it was quite an adjustment to me when I came here, when I'd have to try to explain to somebody how to cook something, like a recipe. Because we just use a handful of this, a sprinkle of that, but I realized that does not work over here. So, see what I'm saying? It shrinks down quite a bit into the bowl. Make sure it's good and saturated, or you'll have a dry umali. It smells so very good. There you go. When you press the fork down and you still see liquid raising up over the fork, then that's a good place to stop. Okay, so now I am going to put some of that whipping cream up top. And just spread it with my spatula. And this is going to shrink down. It looks like a lot on the ramekin right now. Kind of try and make it as neat as you can. I kind of swirl mine. Whoop. All right, and then those reserved nuts, just kind of sprinkle them up top. Not too much, just as a garnish. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing this for the rest. I'm going to fix that. You wouldn't even be able to tell. I'm going to finish doing this. I'm going to throw them in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And when we come back, it'll be time to taste it. Okay, so don't be too long. Welcome back. Right before the break, we had our umali in the oven at 350 degrees for 25 minutes. And then after that, I cracked the oven door open and put the oven on broil. And I went ahead and let the tops of these brown for 2 minutes. And I kept an eye. When you're broiling, do not go anywhere, because if you come back, whatever it is you're cooking will be charred. So just stand there and make sure it's the color that you're looking for. And if you move down here, I will show you what we're working with. Now I've let that cool down for a little bit. That's why I'm able to hold it with my bare hands. And let's dig in and see what we're working with. It smells, the house smells so good. So ooey and gooey. Look at that. Look at the inside. See? So it looks and smells good. I want to taste it, see what it's working with here. And if I burn, do not laugh. Comes with a job. I'm sorry. It's so good. You know, I've eaten lots of bread pudding in my lifetime. Even some that I've developed myself. But I dare say that this is the best one I've ever had. Remember, we didn't put lots of sugar in here. We did not use eggs. But the flavors, so rich and creamy. And then there's that texture added by the nuts that we added in there. It is so good and so very exotic. Where are my manners here? I'll feed you. Haha, I know I'm a tease. Huh. Perfect. Perfect. This is a keeper, you know, something I'm going to make over and over again. So I thank my friend for giving me the recipe. I really appreciate that. And I wanted to let you guys know there's been new development. I now have an online store where you can find all the spices I use, all the foodstuffs that I use, at least most of them, not the perishable ones. And then there's also I've gotten a lot of questions about the pan that I use to make the mini vitumbuas. that's on there. And I've also included all the kitchen tools and gadgets that I like, that I have in my kitchen. So I want to share that with you. And we ship internationally. So if you get a chance, look down in the description box of this video. I'm going to include the link. Okay, it's on Amazon. So go ahead and check it out, and you'll find whatever it is you need. If you're having a hard time finding it in your area, you'll for sure find it on my online store. So I hope you get to visit there. And also, today is my niece Michelle's birthday. I'd like to wish you a very, very happy birthday. She's a gorgeous girl, y'all, outside and inside. So I love you, and enjoy your day. And I hope you'll enjoy this trip to the land of the pyramids. And I hope you join me again next time as I take your taste buds on another culinary safari. Thank you for joining me, and karibu to Stella's Meza. Oh my God.